Breaking news out of the West Bank. 3 Israelis are reportedly in critical condition following a stabbing attack, several stabbing attacks near the West Bank city of Ariel. Security officials are speaking of 2 terrorists involved in this attack. Both have been reportedly neutralized. Joining me in studio is our Middle East correspondent, Ariel Oseran. Ariel, thanks for joining us this morning. What do we know so far?
Right, Sarah. So this is still a rolling story. There's still information coming out. A lot of forces are at the scene. What we know now is that 3 Israelis are in critical condition following what appears to be 2 separate stabbing attacks in the area of the Ariel industrial zone. This is in the central West Bank. According to initial reports, it's believed that the first stabbing attack took place at a gas station outside Ariel, and then the second one was in the entrance gate to the settlement. Now, as to the attackers, according to reports, one of them has been neutralized, and there's been conflicting reports whether the second one has been killed or there was a manhunt. Initially, they're saying there was a manhunt, but what appears to be more accurate right now is that both have been neutralized and killed. And this comes following a string of attacks. Most recently in the area was on Friday. And so the fact, though, however, that this is 2 separate incidents with multiple terrorists engaging and conducting them does make this a more complex scene as it is appearing to be this morning.
Right. Ariel, what can we expect from the IDF in the next few hours?
Well, again, the first thing is to make sure that, to cordon the scene, to make sure that there are no additional attackers that have fled, to make sure, of course, to take injured to the hospital, and to this, of course, comes after, on nearly a daily basis, we're seeing Israeli forces conducting arrest operations, arrest raids across the West Bank. Just this morning, according to reports, 8 Palestinians have been arrested. So I would imagine that we would see, if not a continuation of that policy, perhaps a ramping up of a more targeted arrest raid, given that this is in close proximity to Nablus, which has emerged in recent months as a terror hotbed in addition to Jenin. We could expect a more focused targeting of that area, of a lot of intel operations, arrests in the area of Nablus. But again, the investigation has yet to is just starting right now, and this incident hasn't been cleared yet.
Ariel, speaking of that hotbed out of Nablus, tell us about where these terrorists are coming out from. There's a new sort of underdog coming out of Nablus, if I understand correctly.
Right. So, if in recent years we've been talking about ideologically based organizations, whether it's Hamas, Fatah, Islamic Jihad, what we're seeing now in recent months, these latest terror organizations are becoming more geographically based. So if we're talking about attacks that are conducted from the Nablus area, so we're talking about Palestinians who live in either Nablus or in the adjacent refugee camps. And this makes it more challenging because it's strange using the word grassroots, but that's pretty much what these kinds of organizations are, which makes it more challenging to get intelligence footprint on them, to try and keep tabs on them. But for months now, Israel has been conducting very pressured arrest raids on them, and which led to the dissolution of the Lion's Den, which is the local Nablus.
Ariel, stay with me. I want to bring in Rafael Poch, the international media spokesperson for United Atzara Emergency Services. You're coming from Efrat. Can you tell us a little bit about the injuries that are being treated now for these Israelis that are in critical condition? What do you know?
So our volunteers who arrived at the scene very quickly after the incident took place started treating 4 people who were in serious condition and 1 in critical condition in and around the industrial zone of Ariel. The incident took place in multiple locations. So our volunteers had to go from one scene to the other. Multiple teams arrived and began to provide treatment in the field before those patients were transported to the hospital. In addition, there were also some people who were went into shock witnessing the incident, and they received treatment at the scene as well.
Rafael, walk us through the difficulties and the challenges that your teams face when going into such a rescue situation.
Well, the most important thing for any of our responders is their own personal safety. We obviously don't want to go into a live situation and have the responder themselves be injured, because then you have another person to treat, and the person who you originally went to treat is not receiving treatment as well. So safety is the utmost importance for any first responder going into these types of scenes. In certain areas where we know there's a continuing incident or a live incident, we often send our volunteers with protective vests and helmets and request that they wear them in those scenes. They have to make sure the scene is safe. They work together with security personnel, police, and the military who are at the scene in order to safeguard both them and the civilians in the area.
Rafael Polk of United Atzara, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Ariel, Oseran still with me in studio. I understand there is the latest development. What can you tell us?
Right, so we're getting more information as to how this attack or these attacks took place. So at least in one of the cases, it started as a stabbing and a carjacking, and then the attacker who tried to, as he was fleeing the scene, was involved in a chain car accident, and in that. Following that accident, local security forces managed to track him down, to neutralize him, and he appears to be, according to reports, appears to be neutralized and dead on the scene. As to the second incident, because we're still in the fog of the incident,
right.
And we are clear that it is two separate attackers, but as far as the chain of events, this is for one of them. We're still waiting for information regarding how the second attack took place.
Ariel, we are in the midst of an IDF operation in the West Bank, breaking the wave. How effective has this operation been, since we keep on seeing attack after attack after attack?
Right, so I asked this exact question to an Army spokesperson not too long ago, and he said, imagine what it would be without this operation. So the military is saying that on a daily basis, they're thwarting attacks, they're arresting suspects who have clear and imminent danger of carrying out attacks against security personnel and civilians as well. And so as far as the military is concerned, despite attacks like this occurring sporadically, at least as far as the military is concerned, if it weren't for this operation, the situation would be a lot worse.
Right, and the IDF got a lot of heat for going into Nablus, but apparently, do you believe that we'll be seeing more raids specifically in that region, in that area, for following these attacks this morning?
Look, we're talking about daily raids that happen all across the West Bank. Of course, a lot of the attention is focused on Nablus, Jenin. I believe there will be some sort of pinpoint attempts to try and find out how this specific attack took place. Who were their supporters? Who were their backers? Is there a larger ring around them? That is what is going to be the focus of Israeli security forces in the immediate hours.